Hey, Carol, how are you? This is my friend Carol that we've been friends since high
Hey.
school. So she's very familiar with my background and she's very familiar with the Starlight House in Saginaw, aren't you, Carol? So I guess what we're going to cover tonight is how I accidentally came across my abilities. Um, First off, I want to mention that it is generational. It is in my family. My grandmother had abilities, so it's on my maternal side of the family. Um, when she was younger, she and the family had gone out. I don't know where, it doesn't really matter. But, anyways, hey, Conrad.
Hi.
Um, my grandmother had told my great grandfather, she goes, Dad, we have to go home right now. And he goes, Betty, we're almost where we need to go. What's going on? She goes, No, Dad, we have to go home now. Something isn't right. So he goes, Okay, fine. Turned the car around, went back home, and they were using boiler heat for the house. Well, when he went into the house, he went downstairs and the boiler was this close to exploding.
Oh,
And he was able to get to it fast enough to go ahead and correct it and save the house. So the next time they went on a trip, before grandma got into the car, she goes, Dad, do you have a spare tire and a jack with you? And he goes, No. And she goes, You might want to get that. And he goes, Okay. So he went and got the spare tire and the jack, and they were out driving around, and sure enough, they had a flat, but he had his tire and his jack. Now, my grandmother was older and she was married. She and my grandfather and her sister Donna and Aunt Donna's husband Harvey had gone out to dinner. Well, my grandmother's sister, my Aunt Jess, my great Aunt Jess, she elected to stay home. She didn't want to go. So they were like halfway through dinner, and Grandma stopped and she goes, We got to go. We got to get Jess. We got to get Jess right now. We got to go get Jess. So they dropped everything, paid the bill, went over to Aunt Jess's apartment in time to come into her apartment to see fire licking up the side of her head. She had fallen asleep in bed with a lit cigarette, and they saved her. So my grandfather always said, if Betty says something, listen, listen to her. So I had learned that from, talking with my mom, and I'm like, okay, so this is generational. This is something that runs in the family. And I do believe my mom has abilities as well, but she chose not to um, work with them because it can be something that's very difficult to understand, very difficult to deal with. Um, but, I accidentally came across my abilities when I was younger. Um, my boyfriend at the time, we were invited to go over to a friend's house. And we were sitting there just chit chatting. And I happened to look down the basement stairs and I go, in my mind's eye, I see an older woman with short gray wavy hair in a dress standing at the landing going downstairs. And of course, I didn't say anything because, right? So the night had gone on, and the gal started talking about the house. She says, "Yeah, this is a very special house. The previous owner really loved this house." And I said, "Was she a musician?" And she says, "Yes, she was." And I says, "Did she play the violin?" She goes, "Yes, she did." And I says, "I see a violin case." not a violin, but a violin case. And I says, what's going on with the attic? And she goes, the attic was her music room. She played the violin upstairs. When we moved in, we found a violin case with a letter inside. The letter stated, I love this house. Whoever lives in this house, I will protect you and this home. Please take care of my home. So they put the violin case with the letter in a kitchen cupboard that was very difficult to open. It was sticky, very hard to, get the door open. And I said, okay, um, why are you having a problem with keeping that door shut, the kitchen cupboard door shut? She goes, we don't. The only time that we have a problem with it is when my sister's boyfriend comes over. Every time he walks past the cabinet door would open, hit him in the head. Okay. And I says, so I see an older woman standing at the bottom of the staircase. And I said, is there a fruit cellar down there? She goes, yeah. And I says, okay. I said, she's very proud of that fruit cellar. She said, well, when we moved in, we saw a lot of her canned goods that were still downstairs in the fruit cellar. I says, okay. And I says, and what's going on with all these pictures behind the couch? What's going on with this? She said, every time the boyfriend would sit on the sofa, all the pictures would fall off the wall. And I says, is your sister still dating this boy? She goes, no. And she goes, he wasn't a very good person. And I says, oh, okay. She's doing her job. She's protecting you in the house.
I was going to say,
and we were never invited back to that home. Never invited back to that home. And it was just things that I had picked up, and just through conversation, it was confirmed. Mom and I were also, this was years down the road, we were invited over to some friend's house. They had just bought like 100-plus-year-old farmhouse. It was so cute property. So Lori was busy showing us around the house, right? So we came up to the last room, and it was a storage room. It was like toilet paper, paper towels, dog kennels, dog food, whatever. As soon as I got to the door, I didn't want to go in. I felt uncomfortable. I felt like I was intruding on somebody's privacy. I didn't go in. So Lori kind of gave me that funny look, right? So we went back and we sat down at the table, and we were having coffee and playing cards. And Lori's like, yeah, this house has a very interesting backstory. And I go, yeah, I know. She kind of looked at me, and I says, the older gentleman that lived here by himself, that was his bedroom where you have all the dog food. He died of heart failure in his sleep in that room. His brother found him after a wellness check.
Oh.
And her husband whipped his head around, and he goes, I told you not to say anything to anyone about that, Lori. And she goes, Chip, I didn't tell her a thing. And with that, we were never invited back to that house.
Well, damn.
So, yeah, so that kind of taught me like, okay, I'm onto something here. How would I know this stuff? Another case came up when I was dating a young man. Excuse me for a second. I got to separate the animals. Hold on.
Sure.
Understand that one.
All right. We're good. So me and my boyfriend at the time, we would always go to a dance hall, a local dance hall. And we had a couple of friends go with us. And I'm like, while I was getting ready, I'm like, oh, God, I don't feel good. I'm agitated. I'm nervous. I'm upset. What is going on? And when we had left to go to the dance hall, I had told my boyfriend, I says, I says, I don't feel right. Something's not right. And he goes, well, it's a foggy night. Maybe that's what's getting you upset. And I go, no, that's not it. There's something else coming. I don't know what it is, and I don't like it. It's not good. So when we pulled up to the dance hall, like one block beyond, there's a busy intersection. There was a fatal accident because of the fog. And he goes, oh, that must have been what you were sensing. And I go, no, we're not done yet. There's something else coming. So I'm on edge all night, right? I'm like eyes on the back of my head, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, our friend Eric, now mind you, he's like 6'4", 240, like a linebacker, He's coming and walking back from the bathroom, and all of a sudden, this random guy comes up, sucker punches him right in the face.
Oh.
And Eric goes, what's your problem? And the guy goes, I hit him with all I had, and he just went, what's going on? I'm like, oh, great. And I'm like, we're not done yet. We're not done yet. And I told my boyfriend and the couple we were with, Eric and Lisa, I says, we have to go right now. We have to leave now. And I'm like, really? We're having a good time, and let's stay. No, we got to go. So we had left, and we had stayed away from that dance hall for probably about a month, because I didn't know if that guy was going to come back looking for us. When we finally did go back, the bouncer said, it was a good thing you guys left when you did. And I'm like, why? He says, because the guy that sucker punched Eric was going around saying that he was hitting on his girl, and he was going around gathering people up to jump all four of us at closing time.
Oh, yikes.
All four of us would have been jumped. And he says, we found out what he was doing, and we banned him from the hall. He's no longer allowed here. So that taught me, before I go into like an investigation, I don't want to know what's going on. I don't want to be told the activity, because 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, oh, I know it's great Uncle Harry and blah, blah, blah. When no, it's probably the grumpy old man that lived here, and he sees you as a trespasser, right? So I let the place and the spirits tell me what's happening. I do not research before I go in. I don't want to know. I send my team in. You guys get the information. Then you come walk me through. I will let you know what I sense, what I feel, what I see and hear. You will tell me if I'm correct. That's how I work it. That's what I was taught by these experiences. I might research after and get information, but never pre. Post, yes. Right. Pre, absolutely not. Because, like I said, I want the place and the people to tell me what's going on. Number one, it gives me the correct information. Number two, it gives me more validity with the client. Because how would she know this?
Yeah.
I don't. I'm told this. Okay.
Exactly.
So I know there's, several people that, they go in and research and yada, yada, yada. I don't do that. No, hold on. This is Jasper. He's going to disconnect me, so hang on for a second. Okay. I still gotcha?
Yep.
Okay. So anyways, hold on for a second. Nothing like having children in your face when you're on Facebook. So that was a lesson that I learned early on. And the other lesson I learned purely by accident is remote viewing.
Yeah.
I had no clue that I could do this. No idea. So when we go out to an investigation, I try to have Bob go with me. He drives, right?
Mhm.
So I take my handy dandy notebook. So I'm writing down the things that I feel, the things that I see, the things that I sense. And one really interesting case that I came across, which really floored me. We were going out to a home. It was either like St. Clair Shores or near St. Clair Shores. They were having issues. And I'm writing down in my book, right? Blah, 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 what the house looks like, what's going on. So I wrote down what the house looked like. It was a manufactured home, double wide, had the full wood front porch on it. And I wrote down where the rooms were, and I'm like, the back left corner of the house, I can't see. There's something that I'm not supposed to see. There's something in this corner, and I don't know what it is. It's not right. There's something I can't see. So we get there, and I don't know anything of the house. So I'm talking to the homeowner of what I'm picking up, and unfortunately, I can't remember all the details because once it's out, like 15 minutes later, I don't remember hardly anything because it's not my words, it's not my memories, right? I'm just a conduit. But anyways, I told her what was going on in the house, what had happened, and she just lost it. She was so upset. She was just crying, and she ran out of the house and grabbed her husband. How does she know this? How does she know this? And my friend goes, because she's the real deal. And I'm like, that's the first time I ever heard that from somebody. And so Bob and I were walking around the house. So we got to that, back corner of the house. And I'm like, okay, we're in the bedroom and there's a walk-in closet. And I go check out that walk-in closet. So open up the closet door and Bob goes, huh, there's light coming in from behind the closet wall. I go, really? So he goes, this is a false wall. He pulled the wall back, the door. They were growing illegal marijuana in the back corner of the house.
Oh.
That's why I couldn't see it. It was hidden.
That's
I wasn't
funny.
the one supposed to see it.
Mhm.
So I just said, close the door. We won't say anything about that. Okay. So that just kind of really took me off guard because how would I know that?
Right.
How would I know? I wouldn't. I don't research a house. I don't know these people. No idea. So that's more validation for me, to show that I'm on the right track, that to trust my abilities. And, the remote viewing also allows me to get a sense of the people that are living there, what they're doing. It shows me also the spirit activity, where they are, what they're doing, where the portals are. I have done several remote viewing exercises with some friends that are also investigators, and I have nailed where the portals are so they can go in there and close it down. So I physically do not have to be present.
Right.
So before ramble
Before
on.
you go any farther, though, could you just explain to everybody exactly what remote viewing is in case they don't know?
Okay, so remote viewing, I make sure that I get myself relaxed and comfortable. Okay, so it's almost like a, how do I say, a meditative state. And I just let my brain, I concentrate on, okay, I ask, where are we going? What do we need to do? What do I need to see? And I get images in my mind, right, of the house. It's a 2-story white house with black shutters with a 2-car attached garage. 100% of the time, I am accurate. So, whatever information I ask for, whatever information I receive, I document
Mm-hmm.
before I even get there. I do not do Google Maps to look at the house because I don't want to know. I will have my team do it, but I don't tell me. Do not tell me. I don't want to know. So if you kind of put that intention out there that this is where we're going, this is what we need to do, what do I need to see, what do I need to know, and you get that information. So it's like, when you have memories, when you see memories in your mind, you get pictures. It's the same thing. It's the
Mm-hmm.
same thing. So you have to be in a certain um, mental state. You can't be preoccupied. You can't be stressed. You can't be multitasking. You have to settle and you have to ask. And then whatever you receive, trust it and write it down. So, but, I don't know if you know, well, I had an experience when I was young that I actually physically left my body and flew down the stairs and out the window and down the street.
Oh.
Well, that sounds
And
like fun.
I said, "Oh, this was too far for me to go. I'm not supposed to be even across the street." So I came back and I hovered over my brother's room and see what he was doing. I hovered over mom and dad's, saw that they were sleeping, and I went back up and went to bed.
Major astral projection.
No kidding.
Big time, big time. So, and I could actually physically feel and smell. I went to my neighbor's house and checked in on them. So, but before I go any further, does anybody else have any kind of questions or observations?
If anybody that is watching has any questions for Christine, don't be shy. Just comment your question and she would be more than happy to answer. Okay. Let's keep
But
on
the
rocking.
other remote viewing that I found out that was very interesting. It was my first investigation. Okay, I'm going in as a newbie, right? I have no clue. Yeah, I'll go. So it was at a house in Essexville, and it was very eye-opening. And I totally forgot about this part, and I'll go over this. You can be jumped by spirit, by the way, and I'll tell you how you know. So back to the remote viewing. We were going around this house, and I'm like, I says, there's something about the crawl space. I don't know what's going on. There's something about the crawl. Well, the crawl was a dirt crawl, and it had an outside door, like Dorothy from the Wizard of Oz kind of door, right? And I says, I don't know, something's not right. And on our recorder, we had that man that was haunting the house said, terrible, terrible. I'm like, oh. So my fellow investigator, Kevin, we went outside and he went into the door of the crawl space. And I'm highly allergic to spider bites. I get so sick. And there was nothing but cobwebs. And I said, no, I don't do spiders. I'm not coming down there. So he got just inside the crawl space door, and mind you, the rest of the team were actually in the house with all the equipment, set up. And I says, Kevin, do me a favor. I says, give me your hand. So he reached out of the crawl space, and I reached in and I held his hand, and I could see the crawl space through his eyes. I says, there's a rake in the middle of the dirt floor. He goes, yeah, there's a rake. And I says, by the front door, that's where he's hiding. That's where he is. And all of a sudden, you heard everybody in the house going, what are you doing? Stop whatever you're doing. And I go, what's going on? She's all the equipment's going off left and right. And I says, where's the equipment? She goes, by the front door. Right? So I'm like, okay, so that's another facet of remote viewing. So that taught me, another lesson. And but we were, investigating this house, and this I'm not going to call him a gentleman because I'm sorry, he was not a gentleman. He was ping-ponging all over the house. He did not want me anywhere near him at all. Very nasty man. We found this out after the fact. He was he abused his wife, heavy alcoholic, chain smoker. We did not know that at the time. But my friends were investigating, and all of a sudden I felt like I was having that out-of-body experience, right? Real light. Everything's coming to a funnel, to a tunnel, right? They were asking questions of the spirit. I started answering, talking as him. He jumped in me and was using me to interact and to talk. And I was staring. I was monotone. I wasn't moving. I wasn't blinking. I was answering. And I'm like, I was this close to passing out. And I realized what was going on. And I said, no. I actually physically pushed him out through my sternum. I said, you have no permission to use me like that. That taught me a valuable lesson. So I tell my investigators, if this happens, if you see me monotone and staring and not blinking, I says, snap me out of it. But now that I know that can happen, I do what I have to do to safeguard myself from having it happen again. But he stunk of BO, cigarettes, and stale alcohol. And I says, dude, I'm sorry, you stink. You got to back off. You got to back off. So once we got everything figured out and got everybody calmed down, he was fine, because I went up to the homeowner and I says, let me ask you a question. Please don't take offense. I says, are you Wiccan? She goes, yes, I am. And I says, are you practicing in the house? She goes, yes, I am. I says, stop. You're pissing him off. I said, he's a God-fearing man. That's why he doesn't want to cross over for fear of repercussions for what he did while he was alive. And I says, and by the way, get your Newfoundland away from chewing on the windowsills. That's why he locked him in the closet. So once we came to an agreement, I talked with the man and I said, look, they're getting ready to move. Let's all get along. They're going to be gone soon. Going to be fine. And I told the homeowner, and I said, by the way, the young men that came over and did a seance, don't do that anymore. And I said, because they were very disrespectful. And all of a sudden I heard my investigator in the kitchen going, he just screamed disrespectful in my ear. And on their recorder, you can hear him go, disrespectful. I go, don't do that anymore. So my investigator called her back in 2 weeks and said, okay, how are things going? She says, everything's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. We came to an agreement. Okay, good. So, there's a lot of things that we go ahead and I go ahead and go through, and I'm constantly learning, okay? Learning new things, new experiences. So I've learned to trust my ear, my mind's eye, my gut, because my gut has, well, with the dance hall, right? And then recently there's been several occasions where I was going to drive home my normal route, from work. Something says, no, you want to go this way. Okay, we'll go this way. So every single time I've listened to go this way, not that way, every single time I've come upon where I would have been if I've gone the normal route, there was a major accident. Every single time. So I don't question. I don't second guess. I do what I hear, what I feel, what I see. So when I say that, yeah, I fell upon this accidentally, it was strictly accidentally. And so as I was older, I was learning how to handle this information and process this information. And sometimes it can be very overwhelming, especially if you don't have anyone to talk to and bounce things off of, because people think you're nuts. That's why we were never invited back to a couple houses. But before I go on to accidentally finding out some of my other abilities, do you guys have any input or any questions thus far?
What sort of kind of things do you do to protect yourself?
Very good question. I always suggest to people to look up grounding and shielding, okay? Because that is instrumental, not just in investigative work, not just in psychic medium work, but that's every day. That's everyday life, okay? Because, well, we're all energy beings, right? Okay.
Yeah, you're
We
facing it every day, not just during investigations and such.
Oh, exactly. I have high energy people that I deal with every day. And I'm telling you what, they come at me and it's like, "Bah, bah, 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 bah." I'm like, whoa, back off, because it's exhausting. Okay. It's very exhausting. So I'm also a crystal practitioner. Crystals are very important. It depends on what frequency you're dealing with, what you need at the time. I tell people, let the crystal pick you. You don't pick the crystal. I have people that have certain issues. I put together a packet, give it to them, put it in your pocket. I don't tell them what it's for. I don't want to preset them. Then I talk to them in 2 weeks and go, so how you feeling? They go, oh, I feel great. My anxiety's down. I'm sleeping better. Oh, well, let me tell you what I put in there. And then I tell them blah, 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 blah. And I says, it works. My brother had a hematite cross that I gave him because he's going through some issues. And it really, really helped him out. Well, what I did not tell him was once the hematite is full and it's done, it destroys itself. It'll crack, it'll break, it'll disappear, whatever. It's done. You can't cleanse them. It's done. So he was at a campsite shower and he had like this kind of rope on, right? And he had the hematite cross on. And he goes, Chris, he goes, the damnedest thing happened. And I go, do tell. You can't surprise me anymore. Do tell. He goes, I was in the shower and he goes, all of a sudden I looked down at my feet and he goes, my hematite cross was on the floor, broken in half. He goes, nothing was broken on my necklace. He says, it just jumped off and committed suicide. I go, because Dave, it was done doing its job. I says, I'll get you another one. So And the other thing that I like to do when I go on investigations too is I will bring, because I have had things follow me home, as we discussed before. Anything that's blessed. I don't care if it's a postage stamp. I don't care. Bring it with you. Have it on your person. We're going to Waverly in June, and I have blessed salt. I'm going to make sure that everybody has a little bit of it in a packet. Stick it in your pocket because I don't want anything hitching a ride home.
Yeah, no kidding. Not from there.
Oh, no. So, but yeah. But the grounding and shielding, I think, is something that's really important for the individual person to get them in the right mindset. Because when I shield, I work on the chakra lines. I'm not sure if you're familiar with chakra lines.
Yeah.
But my heart chakra, I envision it as a butterfly. If I want to receive a lot of information, I open up the wings. If I'm all done, I close them. That is my shielding. Okay. And then grounding, and everyone's different. I got one friend that imagines a brick wall around her with barbed wire. It's whatever visualization you can imagine that works for you. Grounding is meditation, getting yourself calm, because when you're rattled or upset, your frequency is you got to bring that down to here. Okay. You got to have a level, nice, smooth curve. And that's the other thing I discovered talking about smooth curves is I work in the medical field. I don't know if any of you guys know that. I'm an X-ray technologist. I'm also a mammography technologist. So I deal with a lot of emotional people, a lot of sick people, right? A lot of mentally challenged people. We have Down's patients, we have dementia patients, we have Alzheimer's patients, we have schizophrenic patients that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Sweetheart, I'll be with you in a minute. And when I deal with these patients, I told my coworkers, if you have one of these patients and you're having issues, if they're getting agitated, call me in. I can help. So they call me in. The patient calms right down. They just calm right down. They can follow instruction. They can follow, my lead. They're not agitated. And I kept seeing, like, with like a dementia patient, this type of line. With an Alzheimer's patient, this type of line. With a Down's patient, this type of line. Right? This type of line. And I'm like, what are these lines? So I got online and I looked up EEGs, brainwave patterns. That's what I was seeing. I was actually seeing that person's brainwave pattern in my mind's eye. So my Downs are like, little bump, little bump. My schizophrenics are, okay.
Gosh.
What the lines that I was seeing matched their EEGs. Another lesson learned, right? Now, this is how I found out that I was a healer and a light worker. Because when a patient, again, strictly by accident, I mean, I wasn't out to do this purposely, just happened. Say if I had a patient come in, and I would play a game with my coworkers when I was in X-ray. I go, that person's a knee X-ray. That person's a hip. That's an ankle. That's an every time I was right. Okay. So when the person would come in, say for a knee X-ray, and pain, swelling, blah, blah, okay. So while I'm positioning to do the X-ray, I'm also laying hands on that body part. And I'm saying prayers for healing. And my patient goes, "Oh my gosh, Chris, your hands are flaming hot. They're hot." And I turn my hands over and my hands are beet red and they're hot. And I says, "Oh, imagine that. I must be having a hot flash." What am I going to say? So I'm working on this person. I'm saying prayers for healing. I got my hands on him because I can put my hands on him because I'm doing an x-ray, right?
Right.
So that person will come back 2 weeks later for a recheck. And I go, "How's that knee doing?" "I don't know what you did, but ever since I was in here, I'm perfectly fine. I have no pain." I go, "Sweetie, I didn't do it. I'm just the go-between. I'm just the go-between. That's it." So that taught me a valuable lesson. So now when I have a patient in for a mammogram, I instinctively know where they're having problems. So this person that I'm positioning, I know she's got low back pain. So I just kind of slide my hand back there, lay my hands on them, and you can actually physically see them go. But I don't say anything because I don't want to preset them.
Right.
And you really can't. Okay, with the job that I'm in, you really can't say, "I'm going to be a healer for you today." No. So I do it without saying anything. And every time that person comes back, "How you feeling?" "Oh, my shoulder feels great ever since I saw you." I said, "Cool beans. Good job." And then, "Hey, baby." No. The other time, I was just recently on vacation with some friends, and I didn't, I don't know if all of them knew that I was a master Reiki, but it's immaterial, master Reiki or not. If you have the ability, you have the ability. And one had a bad knee, swollen like this. The other one had a lower back issue. The other one had a lower back issue. They were in bed. They couldn't move. They couldn't motivate. And I go, "If you wouldn't mind, let me work on you a little bit and let's see if it'll help." Well, the swelling of the knee went down. The pain subsided. The lower back got better. The other lower back got better. The next day, I saw the one gal come traipsing down the stairway, and I go, "Well, look at you. Aren't you looking better?" She goes, "I got to talk to you." I go, "Do tell." So we went out, sat on the porch, and she goes, she goes, "After you laid hands," because I always ask permission, "is it okay if I touch?" I always ask. And she goes, "After you went ahead and laid hands on my lower back," she goes, "when you left, my lower back was on fire." She said it felt like I put like Bengay or Icy Hot on it. And she said it lasted for like 15 minutes. And she goes, "I felt a nice sense of calm." And she says, "And the pain was gone. Absolutely gone." I said, "Well, I can tell because you just came trucking down those stairs like no one's business." And she goes, "Yeah, but you said you were doing Reiki." And I says, "Yeah." And she goes, "But I've had Reiki before and I've never experienced this before." And I said, "That's the difference between someone who's doing straight Reiki and someone who's doing Reiki on you that's a light worker. Now you know the difference." And she goes, "Oh," you could see the light bulb, And I said, "That is my job and my duty and my absolute pleasure is to help people." That's why when I had that drowning experience, I heard that voice, "No, you have work to do." Kids, guess what I'm doing?
You're doing that work.
Yes, you are.
Doing my work that I was meant to do, right? So that really taught me, all the experience I've gone through over the years has really surprised me, taken me off guard. taught me how to face this head on, how to deal with it. Because, having these abilities and this responsibility, it can be a daunting task if you don't know how to face it and deal with it. Okay. So I don't fight it anymore. I don't try to block it anymore. If you try to deny it, you try to block it, you try to fight it, it causes all sorts of internal strife. Okay. You're better off just taking the bull by the horns and saying, okay, hang on, kids, let's go.
Yep.
Because if you shut it down, you're going to pay for it. I've seen it, and I still see it. And if you use it incorrectly, you're going to pay for it.
Yep.
I've seen that happen too.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to go out with integrity, honesty, and you have to go out and, you have to put yourself out there. You're vulnerable. You are vulnerable when you're doing these things, and you have to allow yourself to be vulnerable. And you have to take the good with the bad, because there is good with the bad. And you have to accept both ends of the spectrum. Okay? Because I've lost friends over this. Not kidding. And, that is not of my call. That is not my call. I understand that. It's that phrase, not my circus, not my monkeys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you have to understand. And a lot of times too, I find that when people find out you're the real deal, which I've been called several times, real deal, they feel threatened by you. They feel insecure around you. They will lash out at you. They will talk bad about you. They will. And you just have to understand that that's on them, not you. And you have to give them love and light and sweetheart. Live your life and enjoy, because it's not me. It's on them. And the sooner people understand that, the better off people are going to be, and the more at peace people are going to be. Okay. And as long as you keep your line, keep your direction, you be truthful, you be honest, and whatever comes with that, as long as you're truthful and honest, you can sleep well at night. Not all people can.
Yep.
Okay. So, but I just want to close real quick with I've had people come at me going, "You're doing the devil's work. You're doing evil. That's evil." Really? Have you read the Bible? I'm like, sinner, hello, sinner. I feel like that Dana Carvey character, right? A co-worker, God love her. It's just through ignorance. I don't hold it against her. Okay. I read the Bible from cover to cover. Really? You might want to go back over 1 Corinthians 12:15. You might want to go through Romans 12, 4-8. You might want to go through 1 Peter 4:10. Then get back with me. She did. She never talked about it again. The gifts are listed in the Bible. And the gifts, how we are supposed to use the gifts, are listed in the Bible. Don't ever let somebody come at you and say that you're evil because of your God-given gifts. Don't let them do that. Honesty and integrity. Stick with it. And you can be honest and you can be polite and you go, love and light.
Or as Mom always puts it, you just kill them with kindness.
Yeah. You do. And, if somebody's being hinky or being nasty or being wrong, and you let that attitude affect you, then you're letting them win, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't allow them to make you a victim. And I see so many people, very, very talented people, that allow other people to affect how they feel about themselves, right? They doubt, they question. Don't ever doubt or question your abilities. That was given to you for a reason. Okay. These other people that are negative, toxic, let them go, because that's not doing you and yourself any favors. Because there's some people you can't or we're not meant to fix. Are you hear what I'm saying?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when I do readings for people, they want, they want this answer or that answer. And I tell them, I says, I'm sorry. I may say something that you don't want to hear, but I'm not going to lie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that you're going to have to process. Now, I do maybe reword it so it's a little bit more gentle,
Sure.
right? But, and there's some people that when I do readings with them, I can tell as soon as they sit down, well, can you read me?
No.
No, no, I can't, because you're my conduit. You're already blocking me. I'm not gonna, bye-bye. Have a nice day.
Yep.
No. And so yeah, you have to be very selective, and you have to be very careful about how you deliver information. And there's times where I won't, because I'm told, no, this person is not ready. I had a little gal come up to me at the Howell Theater event, their gallery reading that I did. And she came up to me after the event and she goes, can you tell me anything about my cousin? I go, sweetie, no. I mean, she was maybe 15, and her cousin wasn't much older. I says, honey, she just died 3 months ago. I says, it's too soon. I says, you're not ready. I says, it's just no, not right now. She goes, yeah, she did die 3 months ago. And I says, don't stop asking. And I says, but you're not ready. And she was good with that. So there are times where I go, no, spirit tells me no, don't do it. So you have to really trust your gut.
Yep.
So I hope that kind of explains how I accidentally came upon all these items and, processing, and we still get information and more talent as we age and we watch and we listen. So keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, your mind open, your heart open, and don't force it. You try to force something to happen. Nope, it won't.
Yep.
It's only going to come to you when you are ready. And people have to learn how to be patient.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hard thing to do.
That's the hardest
So before I
thing.
give, oh, I know it is. But before I give any more questions or anything you want to ask,
We got a quiet crowd. Lisa, do you have any questions or anything you can relate to? Because I feel like you and Christine have a lot of similarities.
Yeah, we do. We
Yeah.
do. Yeah, it's she and I we've traveled the same path.
Mhm.
And it was funny when I was listening to you. I thought, yep. And I thought, you have as much, you and I share many of the same talents, and it's been an interesting life. That's all I can say. Yeah,
never a dull moment.
no, that's true. I tried to
but
live a dull life, but really hard.
Well, Lisa, let me ask you a question with like abilities. Do you find when you go out in a crowd or you go out in a group of people, when you're walking through the crowd, all of a sudden you lock eyes with somebody and you're both like, like we can spot each other in the crowd.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
many times.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also spot the opposite too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We had a guy walking into our we were reading one night, and it was just like, whoa. And everybody, and all of a sudden, everybody in the room was going, whoa. But yeah, yep. And I just try to walk away, quickly, or what. But you know what? Those people can spot you as well.
Yep.
Oh yeah, they can. They can.
And I always find it interesting. And a lot of times they'll try to come and intimidate, because they feel the opposition.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's interesting. The remote viewing thing. I was interested. Yeah. How did you figure out? I can remote view as well, but I have a hard time with confidentiality and people's personal space and stuff like that. So unless I have specific people ask me to do it for themselves, I try not to remote view because I have a feel, I don't want to encroach on somebody's personal stuff. But it's really interesting how that works. It really is.
Well, when I remote view, I'm only asking to view like the spirit activity where the portals are and the spirits are. So I'm not asking for any personal information of the people that live there. I'm asking for the spiritual part of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't want to know, hey, somebody's got a rubber ducky in the back.
I always get that part, and that's okay. But somehow I always pick up on the nuances of the people that live in the home as well.
But that's okay. That's not right.
If they've
you don't have to reveal that.
But I find remote viewing really interesting. And it's hard because you don't know if what you're getting is really right unless the person knows where you've gone. But it is interesting. It really is.
Yeah. I make sure that when I do the remote view, I have the ability to go ahead and confirm that information with that person after the fact. So I get confirmation of that information after it's already, because I'll write down the date, the time, and Bob's sitting there. I have a witness. So I make sure that I have that all written down, and that's confirmed after, so, but yeah, sometimes you do get personal information. I agree with that. But I don't use that personal information against that person. That personal information tells me how I have to interact with that living person. You see where I'm going with that?
Yeah.
So that helps me form the proper questions and how to properly deal with that person. So I don't reveal, hey, I saw you in the bathtub last night with your rubber ducky. I don't.
Oh no. I tell them before.
Right. Bathrooms off limits, guys. But I just take. I know sometimes you do get inadvertently, you do get personal information.
Yeah.
I keep that to myself. I'm very much privacy driven because I'm medical. I'm driven by HIPAA.
Oh yeah, I'm an occupational. I'm a retired occupational therapist.
So there you go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'll just use that personal information to gauge how I interact with that person, but I won't I won't say anything. I will talk strictly about the activity of the spirits in the house itself, but not about them personally, except when there's a case when there's drug use in the house. I did run across that with a case in Flint, and they kept messing with me, messaging me back and forth. They were playing games. And I said, I have to ask you, are you doing drugs in the house? And they go, oh, yeah, we smoke pot all the time. And I go, well, you got to stop doing that because it's making you vulnerable. And they said, oh, no. And I go, okay, I can
Okay. Do we lose her?
help yourself. Go down because she's sick.
There, there she
Well,
goes.
we're done. Yeah. And then I said, well, if I can't have access to the entire house and all the people, I can't help you.
Mhm.
Right.
You know, if you're not going to be able to, I don't care if you smoke dope. I don't really care. But if it's causing problems in your house, do it out in the shed. Do it out in the backyard.
Yeah.
But if you're not willing to work with me and help yourself, I can't help you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing is if they don't truly accept that help, there's nothing we can do for them.
And sometimes you just have to,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
you don't have a choice.
That's the truth. Yeah.
That's right. Chris, you are amazing. We already killed the hour.
Thanks for having me on. And then the next time we pop on, I'll talk about how to handle abilities.
Excellent. That will make a fantastic show. But in the meantime, if you guys think of any questions for Christine after the fact, go ahead and ask. You can comment on the video. We'll get back with you, or you can get a hold of us on Facebook. And be sure to tune in next week for our show. And that's it. So everybody have a great rest of the week. Stay safe. And you know the drill. Stay spooky.
Bye.